So let's get started. We have so much to accomplish here. First and foremost, I want to say this. The attachment that is the lead sheet is 4 pages in Finale, so it should look very sort of professional and slick and published or ready to be published and et cetera, et cetera. But I want to draw your attention to the numbers, the conspicuous numbers that are marked 1 through 11. So these are sort of going to be our talking points. So I can refer to measure numbers and things of that nature in rehearsal letters and such. But in general, these are sort of the 11, or there are 11 talking points that I want to mention to you. So here we go. This is the first talking point. It's the upper left-hand corner, the first page, and it's essentially the introduction. Essentially the introduction. And the melody goes like this. It starts on high F, and it goes like this. Starts on a D. So it's a really, it's such a simple melody. F, E, C twice, and then D, C, A, or D, C, D, A, as it were. So that would be my first challenge. If you can get that, that's the DNA of the introduction. Don't worry too much about the metric modulations and these types of things. I'll deal with that in the intermediate and advanced levels. For now, it's better to just learn by ear, and I think it flows very nicely. Ba-da-da, dee-da-da, dee-da-da-da. And again, ba-da-do, dee-da-da, dee-da-da-da. Cake, that's it. Back to the beginning of number 1. Let's flesh out what else is there. You see that first chord there is B flat major 7. And the way I've chosen to voice it is actually quite a very simple way. It's 2 notes in the right hand, A and C, and 2 notes in the left hand, B flat and F. It's a pretty sound, isn't it? The complete sound would be this, or the complete chord would be this. I've omitted the D deliberately. This is an incomplete chord. And then from here, for the next chord, it's the lower tones in each hand that go down by step. And that gets you that chord in the second measure, C, G, F, A. So the first chord is this, C, A, F, B flat. And the second chord in the second measure is C, G, F, A. Put it all together, you get this. Cool, huh? 2 more chords and you'll be done. Amazing. Remember, that melody, the second half of that melody is D, C, D, A. Here's the chord in the first ending. This is the third measure of the piece. So what I'm doing is, and especially for beginning pianists, this is really quite easy. The left hand is just playing a 5th, your typical 5-finger position, G position, going to D position. It's that simple. It's an open, sort of innocuous 5th. There's no third of the chord. That's G, that's D. So here's the first ending. This is the third measure. So I've decorated it with a G and an A up here. And I'll tell you, I love that sound. Hear that G and that A together? Kind of nice. And the F and the E together. Get this lovely rub. Kind of a cool thing. And I guess that's it. That's the second ending. And that is also, so the second stave where you have all those double half notes, they're all slung together like that. The only difference is the left hand is down here. That's the only difference. And the left hand kind of plays this A like this. So here's the introduction. I'll button up number 1. First talking point goes like this. There's that first chord we did. There's that second chord we did. Here's the first ending. Forgive me. And here it is in time, slowly. Da da da. Ready and go and. That's it. Let's get on to things. Here's the second talking point. So the number 2, this is halfway down the first page. It's at letter A, or where the sign is for your reference. And the word, you might want to write this, the word that comes to mind, and the reason that or the source of the arrangement is that I was using a line cliche. So musicians call this a line cliche. And like the English language, cliche means something that is done a lot, sometimes overdone. Here's the line cliche. This is your left hand on D in the bottom and A up here. And the D stays the same, but the A ascends by half step and then descends by half step. So it sounds like this, 3 beats each. 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. That's it. This is, musicians affectionately refer to this line cliche as the James Bond line cliche. You can hear that. It's got that kind of, MI6 or the sort of spy Mission Impossible sort of sound. That sort of sound. Anyway, all we have to do is add this melody, F, E, F, D, and that melody happens over and over and over and over again, so much so that I used a 1-bar, pardon me, multiple measure repeat, 1-bar repeat sign, excuse me. Put them together. And that's it for number 2. I'll do that slowly once again. So we have this. Change. And I'll tell you, I'm not sure this is just comfortable for my hand. I start with 5 and 1, and then I cross over with my second finger. Use my thumb on the B, second finger on the B flat. And that's it. Third talking point, here we go. In part 3, or the third talking point, this is the bottom of the first page, you still have this. But can you glue your pinky, your right hand, holding that A? That's all it is. So I've sort of enhanced this by harmonizing it, I guess. Just adding that A natural. It's a part of the D minor triad. Left hand. There's another line cliche. We did the James Bond line cliche. Here's another line cliche, which is to play a D and an A, but instead of the A ascending by half step, excuse me, the D descends by half step. So we get this. This is sort of the Jim Croce, If I Could Save Time in a Bottle, or the end of Michelle, the Beatles tune, where you hear that. So I'm sure that you can come up with a laundry list of other songs where you hear that line cliche, da 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 dum. So we've got minor, major 7, minor 7, minor 6, that sort of sound. Put that together, super easy, and it sounds cool. Okay, almost done. We're going to button up this third line. In the last 4 bars of page 1, I'm essentially using a fairly stark left-hand technique, for lack of a better word, voicing, which are sevenths. So for you and I, even the most remedial beginner, octaves are so easy. They're so easy. Look, there's B-flat octaves. Play a B-flat octave, and then ask your thumb to go down 1. And that's what I've written 4 from the end there on that first page. So here are those left-hand chords. That's a 7th, marches down to a 7th, marches down to another 7th, and then there's an exception at the very end. I'm sorry. This is a 6th. So the last 4 bars are this. B-flat major 7. I've got the root here and the major 7 here. Voicing of a 7th. A minor 7, or F with A in the bass, whichever you prefer. Down another 7, that's G minor 7. And then instead of this, it's this. Okay? We pit that, or not pit that, but we fuse that with this. And it becomes delicious, delightful. B-flat major 7. Kind of an F 6 with a 9th in there, A in the bass, kind of a G minor incomplete, and then D minor. So, third talking point is this, line cliche. 4 different chords based on a 7th and a 6th. Okay? I'll take a pause just here for a quick moment to kind of rejigger and reconfigure things, but I'm excited to go on and talk about, starting with the 4th talking point, the 4th teaching point, until the end of this arrangement. So far, so good. I hope you're having a great time. All right, so let's keep going. We've gotten through 3 talking points. Here's the 4th talking point. This is on the second page, You'll see I wrote the words harmonic minor or D harmonic minor. So for me, that's an easy way to remember this melodic passage. And if you're familiar with the harmonic minor scale, that should feel quite natural. If you're not, that's okay. One of the idiosyncrasies about that scale, which has almost kind of an Arabic sort of like, has that kind of sound, is the distance from the C sharp to the B flat. So try that first. That's the melodic component of the 4th talking point. And your left hand could not be easier. It's just roots and fifths, root and fifth of the chord, and it's fifths and fourths. And I've written it here. You could certainly play it there. It's got kind of that powerful Gregorian heavy metal sort of like power chord sort of sound. So if you try that together. Sorry. And then I also want to mention, I've been specific about the articulations. You see that first articulation is a sideways triangle. This is an accent. Really nail it. The 2 dots above the D after that are staccato. So we want those to be short. So I'll play that slowly with the correct articulation. Okay. Lastly, I'm sorry, and then I'll go on from 4. Many are up about fingerings. I tend to see fingerings as a very utilitarian sort of thing. You know, if you're having any difficulty getting through a passage, maybe that's the time to figure out fingerings. Otherwise, you can just do what comes naturally to you as far as which digits to use. If you are looking for advice, I might just subscribe to the harmonic minor fingering, which is starting with my pinky, and then maybe crossing like that. Okay, onward to 5. So 5 is another one of those places where there are some lovely, gorgeous chords that are put in there. They're advanced jazz chords, but they can be easily broken down. This is the 5th point, which starts, couldn't be easier with your right hand on a C triad, and that's married with another one of those 7ths. That's B flat and A flat. Cool. This gives you a B flat 9. There's no 3rd in there, but that would give you the full sound. That's the first chord. The second chord couldn't be easier. Your left hand slides down to G and A. Your right hand plays this. Now, forgive me. So in your right hand, it really resembles a diminished chord. That was a little slip on my part because I had forgotten. It's not a complete diminished chord, but it's very similar to a diminished chord. B flat, C sharp, E, G. That G is an A natural to accommodate the melody. Ba 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 ba, or ba ba, yeah, ba 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 ba. And then the measure 4 is a very simple D minor 6 chord. I've got D's on the poles here, one in the bottom, one in the top. My left hand's just a 5th, and my right hand gives an A and a B natural, which gives me the 5th and the 6th. Again, lacking in a 3rd, a deliberate move on my part. So here's that first chord in the 5th talking point is B flat 13, sharp 11. Left hand slides down, 3rd bass, sliding home. There's that right hand with A on the top, just like it's on the bottom, with a diminished chord in there. And then D's on the top, in time. And again, to defer to the articulations, it's short, long, short, long. That's the sort of feeling that we're getting. Onward, onto the 6th talking point. So this is a hybrid of, I'll just bait the line here, I talk more about it in the intermediate and the advanced levels, but it's a hybrid of the melodic minor scale and the whole tone scale. So they sound so delightful and ethereal, and it gives this sort of floating feel. And I also paired that with another line cliche. This is the 6th talking point, thumb on A natural, and here's that scale of 8th notes. Not hard. Lays very easily. Thumb on A, index finger on B, 3rd finger right there on C sharp. Crossing under for the D. Cross under right here. And that whole thing is pitted against kind of a pedal 5, which is A and E. Again, it's got that sort of like ancient Gregorian. Okay, back to the right hand. The following 2 measures are this use of the whole tone scale. I use my 2nd and 4th fingers to get the E flat and the G, and we're just going up in whole steps. You can read it if you want to read it, or you can just follow the screen. These both go up in whole steps. They go up in whole steps again. They go up in whole steps again. So you get that sound. It's delicious. So I'll put the 2 together. Here's the scale. D melodic, D melodic minor, and then the whole tone scale. D melodic minor, and the whole tone. It's just a delicious sound. Left hand, it's A on the bottom and E on the top. And you'll notice that the A stays the same. It's the E that ascends chromatically. E goes up to F, goes up to F sharp, goes up to G. So it's kind of like that James Bond-ish sort of thing. Da, 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 da. Put them together, I get this. And that's that section. Melodic minor, then whole tone, melodic minor, whole tone. Okay, onward, 7th talking point. This, in the 7th, number 7 here, you get this. Which is sort of a harmonization of this. Right? It would sound great. Sound neat together. So I've basically taken the given melody and gone up a 3rd on its own. A, G, A, F. But I added the pinky to give it a little bit of Tinkerbell fairy dust on top of that. You see those D's on top there? Etc., etc., etc. Left hand has a descending line. So this is not a line cliche per se, but they're chord voicings and they're in sixths. Sixths. That's F and D. They go march down, another 6, march down, another 6, march down, another 6. Interestingly, this is kind of a D minor chord, the first one. You're using a C sharp up top But when you go to the next chord, it's B natural and D, and the last chord uses a C natural on the bottom. 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. Do it slowly one more time. Here's just the right hand. With the left hand. Okay, I'm going to bring a bit of closure here. I've got a ton more to share with you, but I'll pause it just for this particular moment. We'll dive in with the 8th topic and go from there. Hope you're having a great time. So here's the 8th talking point. These 4 bars are really interesting. They use this cycle 5 technology and also constant structure. So if you look at the chords themselves, you'll see E flat major 7, A flat major 7, D flat major 7, G flat major 7. Cycle 5, and it's just major 7s going around that cycle. So your left hand couldn't be easier. E flat as a 5th, A flat as a 5th, D flat as a 5th, and G flat as a 5th. Not a big deal. E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat. It's almost like if you're familiar with the cycle of 5ths or cycle of 4ths, it's the same thing here. But they are sort of, again, these kind of gender neutral, these sort of like ambiguous chords as far as at least the left hand goes, as far as whether they're major or minor. The major sound will come from our right hand. E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, okay? Right hand, this is 8. I use this, it's kind of like a G minor chord, but I use my thumb flat like that. So it's kind of a play on the... And then the second measure of that little section, octave Gs with a C in the middle, which is kind of a adaptation of the same rhythm, slightly different, well, quite different intervals. And then the D flat major 7 or D flat major 9, there you have that again, with an E flat and an F pitted against it or under it. And then, again, those 4ths and 5ths for the last one. This is F, B flat, F. If I add this into the mix, it sounds quite nice, I think. There's the first one, the A flat major 7. The D flat major 7. And the G flat major 7. Melodically, kind of a nice, these little vignettes. Once again, yeah, this is the 8th talking point. Okay, as you'll see at the bottom of page 2, that is a reiteration or recapitulation of the introductory material. So I'll skip through that onto the 3rd page. That's just a holdover from that introduction. And look at number 9. Number 9 is the beginning of the solo section, the improvisation section. So even at this level, the beginner level, we can do this. You can improvise. There's 2 techniques I want to share with you. They're so easy. The first one is this. When I solo over D minor, as you can see there, it says D minor 11, I can just use, here's the big word, D Dorian. For us as piano players, this is so easy because it's all the white notes. So for that first chord, that delicious D minor, I can improvise to my heart's delight only using white notes. And try to create from there. The second point I want to mention in this is when you go to the G minor 9, that's the second measure, it's all white notes except use B flat. Except use B flat. This is G Dorian if you want the highbrow words, but it's simply this. All white notes, but use B flat. So, in summary, at letter C, rehearsal letter C, this is the 9th part where we kind of oscillate between D minor and G minor, D minor and G minor. I can easily use this. All white notes. Add B flat into the mix. Back to all white notes. Add B flat into the mix. So what a wonderful way for you to just get baptized into improvising, especially if you've never done it before. There's nothing to be scared of. Zero. Use those notes, all white notes on D minor. Add B flat on the G minor. Bob's your uncle, as they say in the UK. The second strategy I want to share with you about improvisation is the simple use of chord tones. I've printed the chord tones there. In the second ending, you'll see this, a D, an F sharp, and a C, followed by an E flat, an F natural, a G sharp, and a B flat. Any of those, this is the altered scale, but any of those could be used for improvisation there. Okay, and from there on, and I'll button this up here, this improvisatory aspect. From there on, simply use the chords that you're using in your left hand. Forgive me, simply use the chord tones that you're using in your left hand as a means of improvisation. So easy. Draw a line in the sand temporarily. Let's go back to where it says number 9 here, and talk about the talk about the chords that are in the left hand. I've marked this as number 10. So the chords in the left hand are this: a simple pedal with the pinky, and this sort of Oliver Nelson style chord, this cluster, this notes that are close together, seconds on the bottom and a third on the top. Notice that's just a G, A, C. Those 3 suckers go up a step. So easy, so easy. Those guys go up another step. And if that's too much of a stretch for your hand, you can use the pedal for the D, and then simply do that. Back to the chord that we had earlier. So in those repeat signs, they're at number 10, 9 and 10 essentially, but we're looking at the left hand. It's this. 3, 4. 3, 4. 3, 4. 3, 4. Do it again. This is the repeat. 3, 4. G minor. 3, 4. 3. Here's the second ending. It's this. That's a mouthful there. That's a lot. F sharp, B flat, C, F natural. It's that sharp 9 there. Okay, I'm going to do just a little bit more here. This is the 3rd stave of the 3rd page, measure 66. This is G minor 7, and I'm capitalizing on kind of a 2-5 ism. I'll talk about the 2-5s in the intermediate and the advanced levels, but suffice it to say for us at this beginner level, play the chord and the top note can go down by step in most instances for the 2nd chord. So if I play G minor 7 like this, it's nothing. I take that F on the top and I go down a step. Done. That's C9. Next measure. This is measure 67. F major 7, take the top note, go down a step. Done. This is B flat major 9. It's missing a root. It's not a big deal. Delicious sound. E minor 7 flat 5. This is the third measure of that stave. Measure 68. E, G, B flat D. Top note goes down by half step. Again, very, very convenient, very easy. Fourth bar. This is measure 69, D minor 7. And in this one, there's a little bit of a switcheroonie. The bottom two notes, the D and the F, go up a half step, which gives us that D7 flat 9 sound. Bottom of the page, measure 70. G minor 7, top note goes down to C. Same as above, F major 7, top note goes down to D. Same as above, E minor 7 flat 5. And in this second half of measure 72, the G goes up to G sharp, and I get this E7 altered sound. And lastly, the last measure on this page, the D goes down to C sharp, and that G sharp goes up to A, and we get this kind of A7 sharp 9 sound. I'll bring a tiny bit of closure here. My goodness, this is zipping on by. I hope you're having a great time. I've got one small segment after this to talk about the fourth page and my 11th talking point, so stay tuned. All right, so I'm excited to bring some closure to this particular piano arrangement. The 9th and 10th talking points deal with the solo section here, the improvisatory section. And I spoke about the left hand voicings, spoke about the use of Dorian, all the white notes to solo over the D minor, adding the B flat when it has the G minor. I'm going to come back to those points to button them up, but before I do, let's just forge forward a little bit more. This is the fourth page. You'll notice that top of the fourth page is exactly the same as the beginning of that solo section. It's just got that. And the invitation to solo over it. All white notes, right? Adding the B flat. All white notes. Whatever it happens to be. The second stave is interesting. And I took those chords from the second page of the arrangement. So the second stave of the fourth page are these major 7 chords. And again, I'm sort of embracing this, what happens if I take the top note and I go down a step. So here's the measure 78, fourth page, second stave, first measure. This is E flat major 7. Couldn't be simpler. It's E flat major 7 in root position. And if I take that top note, D, and I go down to C, this is a really advanced A flat major 9. Isn't that delicious? Third measure of that stave starts with a basic D flat major 7. It's so easy. Root, third, fifth, 7, D flat major 7, not a big deal. Take the top note and go down a whole step, and I get a more advanced G flat major 9. So to button up that second stave, the left hand is this, and to remind you about what I had said earlier, chord tones are our friend for improvisation. So I have an E flat, a G, a B flat, and a D. I can use any of those notes to create improvisation. Second chord. Third chord. Fourth chord. G flat major 9. Okay. Here's the 11th talking point. This is A9 sus 4. A9 sus 4. From the ground up. Lowest tone is A, there's a G, there's that seventh voicing again. And again, even if you're a beginner pianist, start with the octave, start with A to A, that's easy, and then bring that top note down one, A to G. This is an A9 sus4, this is B, D, E, and G all together. And it's all the same chord in that third stave, it just has this rhythm, bop, bop, boo, dot, da. Do it with me, ready, and bop, bop, boo, bop, bop. If you're a counter, you can count it, it's fine. 1, 2, 3, and the articulations, as you can see, are short, short, long, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc., etc. Goes on for 4 measures. I tend to fill in those measures using the chord tones. Chord tones, chord tones, chord tones. Just those chords that, pardon me, just those chord tones that I wrote, the G, the E, the D, and the B. Bottom of the page, almost done. This is exciting, bottom of the page. A dark D minor chord. So D minor 7 would be played like this in root position, D, F, A, C. But if you take that lower tone D and you go up a whole step, you get a really sweet dark chocolate. Pair that with the D and the A that's written there in the left hand. Delicious, huh? So at the very bottom of the page, even though it's slow 4, we've got this. Nothing to it. So bottom lower left-hand corner, it's just D minor, that's D and A D minor 7 chord, but in your right hand, you're not playing D, you're playing E to get that ninth in there, that crunchy, dark sound. And then your left hand, thumb, 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 thumb. And even though it looks totally different visually with the metric modulation, this is the lower right-hand corner of the 4th page, it sounds the same. It sounds the same. Now it's written in 3/4, where the old quarter note is the new dotted quarter. But it's an optical illusion or a visual illusion because the sound is the same. All right, I'm going to bring some closure. I know that you have the reference of the introductory video of putting it all together, so I will refrain from doing that here. But I do want to go back to the 9th and 10th points where I want to spend just a tiny bit more time of putting improvisation to this. Here's the 9th point, 9th and 10th point here. This is letter C, measure, the 3rd page, 2nd stave. Left hand does this. And if you remember my instruction or my invitation to you, D minor is all white notes. Add B flat, back to D minor, all white notes. Back to G minor, adding B flat. B flat. All white notes. So that's kind of cool, you know, really, really cool. In the second ending is where things get super crunchy. And again, I've printed in the second ending, you'll see the right hand is D, F sharp, and C. E flat, F, G sharp, and B flat. Mash that all together. It's like, it's almost all the black notes, isn't it? Almost all the black notes. But that'll give you some nice fodder for improvisation. And then lastly, this is the 3rd stave, 3rd page. Just to remind you, top note goes down a half step, top note goes down another step, a whole step, top note goes down a half step. Here's an exception where the bottom 2 notes go up a half step. Top note goes down a half step, top note goes down a whole step. This is the last 2 bars of page 3. That G natural becomes G sharp, which becomes A, D becomes C sharp. So I'll demonstrate, lastly here for today, I'll demonstrate the 3rd and 4th staves of the 3rd page, improvising. and I'll only use the notes that are found in my left hand. You can do this. Trust your wits, trust your ears. At this stage, don't worry too much about scales and modes and all this other stuff. The answer is here in your left hand. If you play these 4 tones for a G minor 7 chord, this is the 3rd stave, 1st bar. Isn't it logical that you could improvise using exactly the same notes? Sorry, slipped a C in there. Here's the measure 66, the 3rd stave. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bottom of the page, measure 70. Forgive me. Okay, and that should sort of cover all of those talking points. Gee, that was fun. My goodness, I really had a great time. I hope you did too. I'm excited for you to dig into this and to play this arrangement of Carol of the Bells. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If it was easy for you, I'm going to push you to go to the intermediate level and push you to go to the advanced level. It's the same stuff. I just get a little bit more in detail about, the mode choice, the voicings, these types of things. Thank you for your support here on Patreon. I am so pleased to be able to make these tutorials and to share them with you. Have a great December, and I'll have a new solo piano arrangement for you in the beginning of the new year 2020. Until that time, have great holidays.